because I believed one of my secrets is a strong work ethic. I got that from the farm. A lot of coaches think, well, I was a big shot for 25 years and people are going to come and kiss my shoes when I become a coach. It doesn't happen that way, so I work really hard, but I always believed if I work hard enough, a niche will find me. For instance, one of my early niches that I dominated for a long time was financial advisors. But I found financial advisors because somebody referred me to a financial advisor that made sense to him. And then he told me about all of his friends in this practice. And I got 12 clients out of this one practice. The niche found me.
Welcome to Success Leaves Clues, the podcast where we interview business owners on how they built their businesses and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is David Swin, and I'm a business coach and the founder of Purple Circle, where we help business owners achieve their first 6-figure, 7-figure, and 8-figure year, all without sacrificing their quality of life. Before becoming a business coach and before founding Purple Circle, I started and scaled several 7- and 8-figure coaching businesses and have been a consultant at several businesses doing over $100 million each, including some that are publicly listed and doing over $1 billion each. In every episode of the podcast, you're going to learn lessons that took our guests years to learn, and you'll be able to learn that in minutes. No matter if you're a new business owner or an established business owner, every episode is going to give you the clues in order to elevate your business.
Welcome to Success Leaves Clues podcast. I'm Pedro, and today I'm joined by Danny Creed, a certified master coach whose extraordinary background as a radio host for over 20 years, musician and serial entrepreneur involved in 15 startups gives him a depth of real world experience that most business coaches simply can't match. Danny has logged over 15,000 hours of business coaching, consulting, and training across industries ranging from retail and construction to financial services and technology, working with companies from startups to industry leaders like Avnet, Xerox, and SRP. Studying under legends like Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy shaped Danny into a 7-time winner of the prestigious Focal Point International Brian Tracy Award for Sales Excellence. And in 2022, CXO Outlook named him one of the 10 most inspiring transformational coaches globally. His straight talk, real-world approach to business growth, sales training, and leadership development has helped 100% of his clients achieve growth through some of the most challenging years in recent business history. Welcome to the show, Danny.
Thank you, Pedro. I'm so happy to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too from the day we met. It's great to have you, by the way. And Danny, I'm kind of a comic book nerd guy myself. I love the first editions, the origin story. So let's rewind a bit, because every coach has that moment when they look at their life and say, yeah, I guess this is what I'm doing now, right? So when was that for you, Danny?
Well, I'll keep it short, but I was born and raised a farmer, believe it or not. I have pictures of me in bib overalls and long hair and no shirt and all that stuff. But I knew I couldn't do that, so I walked off the farm into a radio station because I used to lay awake at night going, where do those voices come from? And as you can see, I collect old microphones, which drove that. When the radio business started changing, I walked into an entrepreneurial startup in the mid-'80s. And that changed everything. I changed my career and everything. But everything up to that point was feeding me to become an entrepreneur. Because a lot of people who fail in coaching fail because they don't know how to be an entrepreneur. And entrepreneur means, change is the key word. That's how you define entrepreneurship. Change. If you don't like change, you're screwed. But I loved it. It was dangerous. It was fast moving. It was fun. It was exciting. I didn't even focus on a topic. I did 15. I need to update that. I'm not up to 17 startups, but 15 of them were just everything you can think of. If it was fun and groundbreaking, I did that. We did bootstrap startups, very basic, a card table and a telephone in your garage. And I did some well-funded ones. I actually did one with the Oracle Corporation in Washington, D.C., and I worked primarily at the Pentagon and Department of Defense. And while I was there, shortened version, an admiral pulled me over. I worked with admirals and generals, and he said, man, with all your background, if with all your background and knowledge of successes and failures, there's a new industry called business coaching. You ought to look into it because you can help people not make the same mistakes over and over again. And that just really touched me emotionally. So I spent 2 years studying the industry when it was brand new. It's only been around for about 25, 26 years of business coaching. And it just hit me. That's what I needed to do because I was traveling, Pedro, 240 nights a year. I mean, it was just crazy as that wild entrepreneur. But I said, I need to do this. And I've always been driven by helping others. Zig Ziglar and some of my mentors, I didn't get to finish college, but yet I've spoke at and worked in boardrooms of $100 billion companies. You know, it's experience that pays. You know, there's an old sage that once said, the world is full of educated derelicts, that knowledge is not power. The application of knowledge is power. And so I've tried to spend my life learning from my failures as well as my successes. And I decided I'd become a business coach. I wrote a business plan 22 years ago. And then one of my mentors was Brian Tracy. I found that he was building an organization called Focal Point, and I could really help them grow, which would then give me a support mechanism to work in the world, across the world. And the rest is I've been very blessed. I've helped a lot of people in 18 countries now, and I've logged now over 16,000 hours of helping people. And I might just back that up with saying, which is my journey, but Zig and some of these other people taught me this, and I'll paraphrase. They said, anybody, and this is something for the coaches listening to think about, that you'll never be as successful as you potentially can be until you learn this one rule. And that rule is this: to be successful today, you have to focus on understanding your prospects and customers' needs from their point of view. Validate those needs, help them solve those needs, and the money will always follow. Coach, there's a lot of coaches who go, well, if they won't pay this amount, I'm not going to work with them. Well, they'll never be successful. It's about helping people and understanding them. And that's my journey over now 20 some years.
Interesting. Appreciate you sharing that. I'm thinking, right? 20 years in the game for coaching, at least. It sounds like you're an entrepreneur by heart, right? By trade. Yes, it's something like that's the main hat. Right?
I was a farmer. That's about as entrepreneurial as you
can get. Okay. Now, when you started, I want to zoom in a little bit in the coaching arena, right? When you started the coaching business, sometimes it starts with, I'm not saying it's your case, but sometimes it starts with I'm helping people, I'm serving people, I'm giving advice. And eventually you realize, okay, I'm actually building a real business around this, right? Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Focal Point and all that, but when was it for you that you had even if that was an aha moment, that you realized, okay, I'm actually a coach right now, not just an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? Did you have that type of moment, that feeling that you felt your identity shifting a little bit from business owner, which you still are, right? But the coach starts ramping in. Did that happen?
That's a great question. Actually, for me, it was a little different in that I felt that my entire life journey, from the time I was on the farm to when I actually decided to be that coach, everything I had done leading up to that moment was directed towards me being a coach, an educator, somebody to help others be more successful. I just feel my whole path just feels like, the hand of God was leading me in that direction. So it just felt so natural. And when I wrote my business plan, I said, I'd had the help of a lot of famous people just as angels kicking my rear end, because the help I got from these famous people was read this book, go out and do it. And then I'd report in and they go, what'd you learn? I go, well, I failed. They go, what'd you learn? It's only a failure if you didn't learn something. Well, I learned this. Okay, go do it again. So that's the drive I had. And what the organization gave me was it sped up my process quicker so I could get out and help more people faster. And actually, I had a pretty blessed, remarkable startup. I knew how to sell, which if anybody wants to be an entrepreneur, one of the things they have to learn to do is learn sales. You have to. I just can't stand it when people go, oh, I'd never be a salesman. I don't, yeah. Well, baloney. If you've ever asked a girl on a date, you're a salesman. If you've ever dealt with your children, you're a salesman. If you've ever applied for a job, you're sales. You have to understand sales. But I knew how to do that. And I had created a process over the years in my sales career to not have to spend so much time doing marketing that we knew didn't work, but we keep doing it. A lot of my drive is how much time is wasted, in being successful. And I think a lot of time is wasted by people in being successful because they keep doing the same thing over and over again that we know doesn't work. So I created this process that's really focused. I even wrote a book about it that's focused on referrals. And I built $1 million practice, not spending hardly any money on marketing, but building a referral network that paid off. So I just knew that this was something like this was what I was supposed to do. But I'm telling you, when I got the clients, because I got a lot of clients very quickly, within 60 days, I had 23 one-on-one clients. And at that point, you go, what do I do now? Because I didn't know how to coach. But the key is, if you're open to learning, you're open to thinking. Really, coaching is all about listening, asking questions, and focus, being positive. And I knew how to do that. I just had to slick it up, for lack of better terms. I just had to polish the car a little bit.
Yeah, I love how you framed it. Like, and it meant I was a sales guy, right? I was a high ticket sales closer. Yeah. And you mentioned a couple of things that really stood out to me. I would put it like, when you're talking about helping people, that's the thing. I think most people have a misconception of what sales should be, or they were burned in the past. I don't even blame them, right? They were pushed into something they didn't want to. So there are terrible people in sales out there. So there's that. But sales is about serving. Right? That's the first point. And by hearing you about in the coaching space, sales has a lot to do with coaching, because it's about listening, actively listening. It's about caring. If you really want to serve and you really want to help, and it's about asking the right questions, right? I don't want to simplify coaching because I know it's a little bit more about than that, but you do have I can see you had the foundation to be the coach. Yes. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, I'm curious about one thing, because you started, right? You opened shop 20 years ago. And at the start, we attract all kinds of people eventually. I'm not sure like if that it was like that for you, but eventually we sharpen the blade, or we attract a certain type of people, right? That tend to connect more with us. Mm-hmm. So when did you realize, and who they are, like, would you say is your tribe, the ones you realize, okay, these are the people I can help the most?
Good question. I never, contrary to what some people teach, I never ever chased a niche, because I believed one of my secrets is a strong work ethic. I got that from the farm. A lot of coaches think, well, I was a big shot for 25 years and people are going to come and kiss my shoes when I become a coach.
Sound like that?
Doesn't happen.
Oh.
It doesn't happen that way. So I work really hard, but I always believed if I work hard enough, a niche will find me. Mm-hmm. For instance, one of my early niches that I dominated for a long time was financial advisors. But I found financial advisors because somebody referred me to a financial advisor that made sense to him. And then he told me about all of his friends in this practice. And I got 12 clients out of this one practice. The niche found me. Okay.
Right.
So my target audience, then, people, I believe that if you pick a target audience and you're a coach, that what you're doing you're walking like this, and you're walking by 500 people that you're walking by going, hey, coach, where are you? Come back. I need to talk to you. And you don't see them just because they don't fit your niche. See, my niche, if you ask me, is business owners, executives, and entrepreneurs. And I will talk to anybody, Pedro, anybody that fits that. I'll talk to anybody anyway, because how do I know if they say no or it's not right? How do I know they don't know somebody that is right for?
Mm-hmm.
I've had many people say, this really isn't right for me. So thank you for your time. But, I know somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Can I refer you? And I will go, absolutely. So I think it's our job to understand that we should consider ourselves experts in the realm of business. It's not our job to help to help a dentist, let's say. It's not our job to make him a better dentist. It's our job to make him a better business person. Because there's specialists out there that'll help him be a better dentist. They'll help him run a dentist practice better. But most of these people, like dentists and doctors and plumbers, most of them are great at their craft, but they're terrible business people. So that's where I can help them improve how they think, understand how to run a business, how to deal with people, how to communicate better, how to set goals. Does that make sense?
Oh my God, it does. I'm from Brazil and I'm a business graduate, right? And I had this buddy. He graduated in pharmacy, something like that. He was going to open up shop from pharmacist, right? So he's a pharmacist. And he got let's put it like this, $200K from his parents to open shop, right? Go do your thing. So first thing he does is buy the place, gets the building, gets zero cash flow next month, and starting to get it
carpet,
and it starts to get in debt because he had no idea he should. I mean, it's unfathomable if you think about it. So absurd, but he doesn't know better, right? He's not a business guy who was just doing pharmacy and all that and studying for that. So I understand where you're coming from. That hits home hard. Now, let me shift a little bit here because I want to do a little bit of game of pretend here, Denny.
Oh boy.
Okay. Let's pretend I'm one of those business owners. Actually, that's going to be easy because I am a business owner.
Okay.
But in this scenario, I'm your avatar, your ideal client profile, right? So first of all, how would I be able to find you marketing-wise?
I've done a really good job with some partners on Google search. I think that's the key today. You've got to do a lot of things to get found on Google search or any search engine. So I will tell you that 100% of my clients for the last 18 years has come from referrals and Google searches. Mm-hmm. I don't really have to go out and do the networking because most networking is stupid unless you want to just go out and have a drink and I get 100, go out and give out 100 cards and get 100 cards, and most of them aren't people that will buy. They may know somebody that will. So my website, LinkedIn is very important because LinkedIn in the digital age is seen as LinkedIn is seen as a website by some people. They can go there and see it. And Google search.
So we're talking about Google search, referrals, LinkedIn, your website, right? Let's say I saw you digitally, right? We're on the same game of pretend scenario, and I'm like, you know what? Danny seems like a cool guy, right? And I'm like, I do the outreach myself. I want to work with you. Let's put it like this. I went through the sales process, and we can speed that up a little bit. Let's say there's alignment. You see, you can help me. I see, you can help me. We're going to work together. So what I want to do is for you to walk me through how does it look like, a little peek behind the curtain of what working with you looks like and the potential outcomes I can expect. Right?
Okay. Well, I do things a little different than a lot of people do because I understand that when I'm doing that initial conversation, we're saying, is there a fit? My keys, I'll just give you some secrets for your listeners here that I use. But my key phrase I use is, you know what, Pedro, I'm not right for everybody. So can I ask you some questions and we can discover together what your needs are and if it makes sense that we work together. So let's say we did that. Because when I say I'm not right for everybody, what that does tends to lower the fear of being sold. And most prospects and clients are scared to death of somebody going to pitch them. And the last thing anybody wants is a pitch. So what I do is have a conversation. Because my goal is not to sell you a package of anything. My goal is to sell you that you trust me enough to give me a chance to help you solve your needs and grow. Mm-hmm. See, and that's where a lot of coaches go wrong. I'll sell you a 12-week package, or my average client stays with me 7 to 10 years. I've got a friend in coaching. He's in Canada. He keeps clients 14, 15 years routinely. Our job, Brian Tracy taught me, our job is twofold. One is to acquire customers, and most people don't do this. The second piece is to retain customers. And the only way I'm going to retain customers is constantly be talking to you about your needs, how they're changing, where they're at. The problem that most coaches get into is they love to tell. So when I work with you and we sit down for that first meeting, I say, thank you. I have a whole bunch of things I send you, facilitate. And I say, our first conversation is going to be an hour and a half at least, where I just beat you up to understand your needs from your point of view as deep as we can get. And then I will customize a curriculum plan just for you. Now, I have this mass library of knowledge. I have the library that I have from Focal Point, which is a fabulous library. I also have, 40 years of being an entrepreneur as a library. Most people, one of the reasons why a lot of coaches fail is that they don't honor their past. Every success you've had, every failure you've had is a lesson that you can use in coaching. So I take all of this and I say, Pedro, we're going to customize a program for you. Number one, we're going to meet every week. We're going to meet every week, same time, same channel, so there's consistency. 2, I don't use a contract, I use an agreement. That agreement says that you can cancel anytime you want, but it's my goal to work with you for 7 years or more. That's my goal. 3, I'm going to make myself available to you 24 hours a day. And I've always done that. And I've only had one person call me after 11 o'clock. But just to know that I'm there with them, that if they're not alone anymore. Pedro, I'm telling you, what I hear around the world from executives and entrepreneurs is that they're lonely. They don't have anybody to talk to, and nobody listens. So I position myself as an elite listener. I'm concerned what your needs are. So then I will create a customized curriculum that first will put out any fires that are burning for you, any issues, any challenges. By the way, I never use the word problem, ever. You have challenges, you have needs, you have opportunities, but I never use problem. If you look psychologically, is an argumentative word. It's a word with some personality profiles. Let's fight. So I focus on what you need right now, because my goal is to set metrics and give you a biggest win we can get as fast as possible. Now, that win doesn't necessarily mean more revenue, doesn't necessarily mean more profit. I had a client last year that a big win for them. He hadn't had a vacation in 7 years. So he said, Coach, help me understand why I won't take a vacation. And that'll be a big win for me. Because I always say, I would ask you, Pedro, what does a big win look like in the next 120 days? I want you to tell me, and then we can work. Now, look, coaching is about coaching. I won't do it for you. You have to do it. But when it really, you said something earlier, I want to share the number one thing I believe in, not the number one thing, but one main thing that I believe in as a coach is that if I'm working with you and you're passionate about your goals, you're passionate about your vision, something like that. Many times, though, you don't have the confidence. So it's my goal to believe in you until you can believe in yourself at a higher level. I ought to be a lighthouse of hope to you. That's what I sell. I sell hope. I don't sell packages of stuff. I don't sell short-term solutions. I sell hope, that I'm going to be there to support your vision, to support what you want for your family, to support your goals. And if you don't have the goals, I'm going to help you get the clarity in building the goals. That's what our job should be. And so that would be the process. First meeting after we sign everything would be understanding, getting total clarity on your vision, needs. And through that conversation, I'm going to figure out, a short-term and possibly a long-term curriculum. And then we're going to dive in, and I'm going to push you, and we're going to work hard. The only time I will always tell every new client. So I'll tell you this: Pedro is my new client. I'm really excited about this, but let me also say that there's only one thing that could happen that will ruin this. That when I start working with you, I'm going to be passionate about your success. And if there ever comes a point where you're less passionate at your success than I am for your success, I don't even want to work with you.
Interesting. Drawing a line on the sand, right? It sounds like you have to keep your integrity on check too. It's like if they don't need or they don't want, there's no need for it, right? So that makes sense. Now,
I can't make you be successful, though.
Right, exactly.
Make you.
It's not done for you. It's not done for you. It's like with you, right? At the end of the day.
And I always know a coach is going to be struggling when they say, "Well, I've got a client. If I could just get them to do that," I go, "No, stop. That's not our job. Our job is to be there to support them, to listen to them, to push them." There's two levels of accountability in coaching today. One is I need to show up on time. I need to be accountable to my client. But the other side of it, I'm getting lots of customers saying, "Coach, are you the kind of person that can hold me accountable? Because I need to be held accountable." And I always say, absolutely. You may get mad at me, but I'm going to hold you accountable.
I'm your guy, okay? And you may regret this, but I'm going to get to a different level of accountability for you, buddy. Yeah. Now, let me shift gears for a second, right? And I appreciate you sharing the ins and outs of your own business, but let's talk about future a little bit.
Okay.
I'm curious about where you're taking all this. Looking ahead, where do you see the business going? Are you thinking about scaling, hiring?
No.
What's exciting?
I'll never retire. This will sound morbid, but I hope if I ever die that I'm in the middle of a coaching session. It'll be very traumatic for my client. But I love doing this. And I'm way past the age of retirement, and I love doing this. Who can say they really love what they do so much that they just want to keep doing it? It's not about the income or anything. It's about helping people. It's about one of our great philosophers, Mark Twain, said one time that the greatest repository of knowledge on earth is our cemeteries. That people retire and they have all this knowledge and they just take it to the easy chair. I want to continue to learn and share. My goal, to answer your question, is to reach 100 million people in some way. Now, the way I'll do that is I still will coach, do executive coaching, business coaching, sales coaching, but I want to do more speaking. I've been in 3 different countries this year speaking to audiences about motivation and sales and business development. I want to do more high quality shows just like yours. This is a way to reach 100. I'll never know for sure if I reach 100 million people, but if I share something with you and you go, "Ooh, I'm going to go share that with somebody else," it just goes on and on and on. I've been a part of writing 8 books. I've got a couple more I just signed a contract for. Hopefully somehow that'll get, But the other thing that I will do more of, which is all paying back, the success that I've had, and anybody can have. I've always said every coach should do something for no charge and no expectations as part of their practice. I've been working for 10 years with men in prison in maximum security. I go up every other month and I sit down and I can spend 6 to 7 hours with up to 30 men. And we talk about, believe it or not, I'm in maximum security. We talk about goal setting and personal development. Mm-hmm. Last time I had 34 guys, 28 of them were in on life sentences. So you say, why do they want to know about goals? Well, doesn't mean just because you're in prison, you can't have goals to change yourself, to get degrees. I work with one man that's been in 38 years on a life sentence, and he got a PhD in Christian counseling, a PhD. So I give that. I don't care if anybody knows it, but that's something that's important to me to give back. That just as speaking is, and look, to be honest, you're a business marketing guy. All that stuff that I do is still good marketing for people to talk to me. They all do marketing, which all goes to my Google search. I write. I've got a very, very successful blog on LinkedIn that gets lots and lots, thousands of reads every week. That's another way. But I want to reach 100 million people, and I want to help them in some way. Whether to pass it on to friends. That's what I tell the guys in prison. I said, look, you may tell another inmate something that you learned that improved your life here. If you get out, when you get out, you may go tell your family, say, here's what I learned while I was there. And it may change their lives. But you have to have that attitude, because if you got the attitude, I'm in it for the money, you'll never be as successful as you can be, ever. So that's where I want to go.
No, I love it. The speaking gigs, talking, like impacting 100 million lives. I mean, that's a huge goal, but at the same time, it's what drives you, right? It's having that hope that you mentioned for yourself too. You got to walk the talk, right, Danny? You got to have your own goals, and I really like that. Now, I want to venture a little bit into sci-fi territory here.
Let's go. Hit me. Come on.
Let's pretend. I love a game of pretend, man. Let's
go.
Let's pretend we do have a time machine here in front of us. Okay, Danny, we are going to have 2 stops. The first stop is 20 years ago when you started your own coaching business.
Yeah.
Right. And you can go back in time and you can talk to past Danny when he was just starting the coaching business. I know you have other ventures. And you can give yourself one piece of business advice you wish you knew back then. Specifically, I'm not sure if it's about coaching, but something that you wish you knew and that would, ease up the journey. Let's put it like that. What would that be?
No matter how desperate you are for income or whatever, always be concerned about the customer's needs and not mine first. I wasn't always that way, because I had to sell. I used to sell. I had 2 babies and a wife. I was selling $5 radio commercials, and I was getting paid straight commission on collections. So I had to sell something to eat. But when I got into coaching, I wish I would have been more aware of the importance of, look, forget about the pressures, forget about, how dire things are, but focus on the client first and it will always follow. I wish I would have knew that quicker, realized that sooner.
It's the agenda, right?
Yes,
it's
sir.
Like, I always, what that brings me back to? It's like, I always come up with this analogy on dating and selling, because they walk hand to hand, as you already know. Yes. And it's like, those girls who are going out looking for a husband, it's like it's backwards. They're just worrying about getting a husband, but they're not worried about getting to know people, and understand where they're coming from and understand their needs. It's just like, I want to find a husband. And whenever you go with that, and I've been there too, okay? I'm not judging. Whenever you go with your agenda first, your energy tells it, it's something that people can pick up on. They're like, this guy is trying something, he's trying to push me into something. I don't know. Sometimes it's very nuanced. It's even hard to pinpoint, but the neediness, the disconnection in the energy, people can feel it. And the more you distance yourself, like your example of I don't work with everyone, like this is the type of frame that people are like, wait a minute. Right?
I've had big tough D personalities when I said that go, what do you mean you're not right for me?
Right?
It's just, okay, let's talk, But yeah, you're exactly in a day, there must be a reason. I don't know what the number is now, but like I've heard that like 70%, 80% of the world is divorced. I mean, so there had to be a different agenda, for we have just ask us if you know a school teacher, just ask them. They'll tell you how many kids 20 years ago were from split families is what it is today. But it's all about agenda. And again, I knew it because I was very successful in sales. I knew it. But what drove me was more along the lines of being a consultant, understanding their needs, and then filling those needs rather than telling. And I was part of a group, Pedro, that and it's still not taught, I don't get it, but in a digital society, why does an elevator pitch even still exist? Because if you look at the definition of an elevator pitch, and I know people that still teach it, but if you look at the definition is what do you tell your perfect prospect if you're locked in an elevator with them for 1 minute? Mm-hmm. You know what? Nobody wants to be told anything. You know why? Because they can get it instantly here. They don't want to be told anything. They're more along the lines of, if you ever studied Simon Sinek and some of that stuff, they're more along the lines of, tell me why you do it. Because like in coaching, there's a lot of people out there that claim they're a coach. You want to really upset me? Of these people that just claims they're a coach and they don't have any background. They don't have any experience. They haven't studied it, and they hurt business owners. They hurt them. But, the thing is that you really need to step back and go, look, I'm not right for everybody. So let's find out together. So one, I've instantly done, and I'll do this. If you want to talk later, if I have $1 billion company I work with the biggest company, $400 billion company. And that's how I sold them. I'm not right for everybody. And I got that deal because I said, why me at one point? I said, you could have had your pick of any of the big five, any of this. They go, you're the only one that didn't try to sell us on you.
Right?
You're the only one that said, I can't help everybody. So what do you need? And they started telling me their needs. I was part of a sale. I did the startup I did with the Pentagon, and the first sale we did was $43 million, I think. And the main reason that happened, we were working with 10 admirals and generals. They said, everybody comes in and tells us why we ought to buy them.
Right.
And you guys came in and said, I don't know whether we can help you or not. What do you need? And they go, well, here's what we need. I go, okay, well, I can help you with that. Now, here's the close. Here's how difficult a close would be at that case then. Well, golly, it makes a lot of sense. We ought to do business together. Can we start Tuesday? That's all it is. But if you continue to telling is overrated. Nobody needs it anymore. We're in a digital world. We're in an AI world. Nobody wants to be told anything, but they want to know the emotional connection. They want to know, is this guy really going to give me hope? Does he really believe in us that much if we work together? Does he really have resources to help me with any need? That's what they want, because then I have the chance to prove myself. Unless I'm schlepping a package of something. And that shouldn't, any coach that's schlepping a package of something, don't even talk to him.
Okay.
I'll probably get in trouble on that one, but
it's all good.
That means they're they're trying to sell something to you rather than understanding your needs and solve the needs.
I agree with that 100%. And I don't want to get into a rabbit hole here, but one thing that really grinds my gears sometimes it's those influencers in sales, and they're always having like the perfect sentence to overcome the objection, because I'm going to say this and they're going to say this and then I got the deal. I mean, at the end of the day, it's way simpler than that. And if you get into a point that you have a real objection, like real one, it's just about sitting down with the person trying to figure out something out. It's not
talking.
about, yeah, it's just like,
it's conversation.
It's not having a tactical, a book of play that you say this and then you win and then you say that. It's way simpler.
Pedro,
than that.
we don't have to get into it today because that is rabbit hole. But I've got a standing $10,000 bet that I can show you one technique for handling any objection on the face of the earth. One technique. And it falls right along the line. And I've done this. The first time I said this, I was doing a speech in front of 23,000 people in this big arena in Minneapolis. And my wife was with me, and she about had a heart attack. But I've offered this for 20 years. Nobody's ever given me an objection I can't answer with one simple technique. And it really comes back to what you said, brilliantly said. It just comes back to, let's talk about it. I'm not going to argue with you.
Right?
I don't want to argue with you. Let's talk about it. And in essence, I'm not, we can, if you want to talk about it, we can, or maybe we do another show. But, in essence, it's, look, let's talk about it. And if I can help you with it, we ought to do business. If not, we won't do business. Okay?
It's all good.
What do? You're fighting fire with water. I am telling you that many customers, many prospects will give you an objection like that just to get rid of you, to get you into an argument so that then they can say, well, screw you. I'm not going to work with you anymore.
Exactly.
Right? I had an old mentor 50 years ago because I had to start selling when I was really young. But he told me, he said, look, understand that an objection is nothing more than something when told to a salesperson will make them leave. And so I just turned that around. What are standard objections? It's too high. It's too expensive. I'm not ready. I've got to talk to my wife. All those things. And really, let's sit down and talk about it.
Yeah, honestly, the way I see it, Danny, I tend to isolate things. It's like if X, Y, and Z was not a problem, would you see yourself doing something like this?
You are basically on my bet.
I always use this because most objections are just smoke. It's just smoke. If you don't want to, if he or she doesn't see him or she doing something like that, it's all good.
I'll just tell you, because it's very similar to yours. But, there's a whole process to it. But it comes down to, okay, you think my product's too expensive. I write that down. Let's set it aside. And if I could solve that issue, does that mean that we have a deal? Oh, there's more issues. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me.
You're isolating the objection. That's the thing.
All it is.
And you're tying it to value, right?
But it's not an argument. It's not a debate.
Exactly.
It's not getting in each other's face. It's calling the bluff of most of the people you're talking to. I've had guys look at me and just go, you figured it out, did you? Yeah, okay. I want to work with you. I mean, it's just to understand it. But look, to be a coach, you have to be passionate about understanding the customer's needs from their point of view, validating those needs. We have to be passionate about helping people who are willing to take help. Not that we have to force. We have to ask questions. Because honestly, over the years, there are certain types of people I don't want to work with.
True.
I just don't want to work with them. So if they're saying, I'll pay you anything you want, and I feel that, I'm not gonna push it, because they're going to be a pain in the rear end to deal with. So we have to have some integrity. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to have ultimate confidence, even maybe when we're not as confident. But our prospect and client will buy us because we're selling hope that maybe we have more confidence than they do. Maybe we know a way to help them. So they've got to see that. Now, you may go close your office door and cry after the meeting. What the hell am I doing? But they can never see that. Because I'm telling you, 100% of my clients initially buy me because they believe that I give them hope that we can solve the issues they're facing.
Okay. Now, back to our time machine scenario. We're still there.
Okay.
We have a second stop because before we get into another rabbit hole, we're good at that. It sounds like it, Danny. This time, you have the opportunity to go back in time. 20 years, your journey, right? You can pick a time, a moment, a specific moment that you felt your cup was so filled, that you understood, oh, that's why I'm doing this, a moment of joy. You can be like your biggest win. What would that be?
I was working with a construction company in Arizona, and they had terrible issues. They were wasting money, spending money, unchecked. They were great technicians, but they didn't know how to be a business person. And in short, they were losing the company. They employed 300 workers. They employed 9 family members. They had over 1,000 vendors. And if they lost it, it would have everybody would have lost their jobs. They would have lost their investments and fortunes. And I helped them and they were tough because these guys were ones that cussed and swore and had fights and all this stuff. And I helped them go from 1.8 million to 43 million in 3 years. And I asked him at one point, I asked the owner, I said, so what has our relationship meant to you? He goes, you changed our family tree. Wow. He said, without you being tough on me, without you giving us leadership and believing in us and moving forward, he goes, everybody would have lost their jobs. And the end result of that was that they were so successful after a while. They learned new practices. It was sustainable. That they had a lot of their 300 employees were laborers or workers. So a lot of guys out of prison, who had no idea about finances and personal finance and everything, that this company actually offered a 401k for their employees and paid for it themselves.
Wow. So
they had guys, no education, been in prison, get ready to quit. And they go, well, have you checked that 401k thing? No. He goes, you got 60,000 in there. So they funneled it back to their people. Their team stayed with them longer. And at that point, I said, I can really, if I find the match, people who really want to improve and grow and change, if I find that, and I'm not desperate, if I find that, I can really make a difference. Pebble in the pond kind of stuff. I can really affect generations. Now, if you look at my website and you look at, there's a deal in there on case studies. I never beat my own chest. If you look in there, it never says, look what Dan did. It says, look what my clients achieved. Look, because they have to do it. Anybody listen out there, understand they have to do it. So it's our job to manipulate personalities. It's our job
guide them through it,
guide them. It's our job to be cool. It's our job to always have hope. But we went from 1.8 million to 43.7 million, something like that, in 3 years.
That's freaking wild, man.
That's pretty powerful.
That's a legacy. That's a legacy.
At that point, I really realized, that's the difference. That's the difference. When you mentioned the award, I got ranked in the top 10. Everything I do is confidential, so nobody really ever knows who my clients are or anything, and I keep it the highest level of confidentiality. But they found out somehow, some of my clients, and one of them said, Dan's a lighthouse of hope. And that probably meant more to me than anything, because that's my whole purpose. If I'm working with you, Pedro, I want to understand your vision, no matter how crazy it is, and support you on that. Show you how to get there. Always be there when times are down. I've had parents die. I've had partners die, that of clients I work with. I've had, everything you can think of. I could write a book, but I always tried to be there as strong emotional support, continually selling hope. During COVID years, you mentioned it. 100% of my clients had growth. Why? Well, I sat down and said, where's your head at? I'm not going to allow you to think about what if. We're going to only talk about what is. What can we control? I told all of them, I said, let's go out and steal all your competition's customers because they're in hiding. So let's go out and steal them all. And we had some great stories in that, come out of that. But it's just giving them hope that maybe the world's not going to end. Maybe there's opportunity, because in every economy in world history, in the worst ones, there's also, and this, you can find this out easy, there's also been more millionaires made during that period of time than any other time, because somebody said, okay, it's terrible, but wants the opportunity. So that's where I try to keep myself, and it's not easy, but any coach can really be more successful if you start building that mindset.
Okay. Love that, man. Now, if someone listening wants to connect with you or follow your work, Danny, and we're going to have all the links in the description, but what's the best way for people to find you and connect with you?
MasterCoachDan.com. That's the website. And through that, you can send me a message. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn and all those things, but that'll get you in there and see a lot of the success stories and, that kind of thing. And I always, by the way, give a complimentary hour discussion. It's not a sales pitch. It's just a discussion about your business. If you choose to ask me about that, we can. But it's just a discussion about your business, understand, and maybe I can help you with a couple ideas in that process. So.
Okay. There were a few moments from this chat today that I feel the urge to highlight. Okay, Dan? First, origin story. Grew up in a farm, right? But what really caught my attention was the entrepreneurial journey. And one thing that you said, that most coaches, they fail to understand, they're not wearing just a coaching hat. They're wearing the CEO, the business owner hat, right? I see a lot of them. They are very passionate about the craft, which is totally fine. I completely understand, but they have to understand they're running a business, not a hobby, not something that they just love, because without understanding you need to sell or something like that, it's not going to last long. Okay. And you're going to have to look up for a job. So there's one thing. Another thing you mentioned really stood out to me. It's like some people, your clients, your coaches, they just want someone to listen, right? And how lonely is at the top? Because if you're a business owner, people that are like your employees and all that, they're sort of biased, right? Because you can change their lives sometimes about income and all that. So that's a different opinion, different conversation. Some people are trying to sell you, which are the service providers. And you do have the family, which joins there, but the family also relies on you. If you're a business owner and you're running everything, so it's very lonely at the top to talk to someone who can actually get you, that is not trying to push you into something, that is not trying to get advantage out of you or trying to say, hey.
The higher you go, the less you really can share.
Exactly. So. Because at the same time, the higher you go, you're at a different level. So it's not like you're going to talk to any business owner. You have different challenges. I'm not going to say the word you don't like. Okay?
There you go.
You
Good
got
job.
different challenges. So there's that. Now, last but not least, I would say the life sentence, right? When you were talking about those guys that are in the can, talking about goals, right? That made me think a little bit. Are we all carrying life sentences, right? The only difference is like they are locked in and we're not, but we are all having a expiration date, right? So we can still all have some hope despite circumstances, right? So that's just my long-winded way of saying that I appreciate what you do, Danny, and I appreciate you being here.
Thank you
and sharing so openly today. It was great having you on.
I'm honored. Thank you very much, Pedro. I'll be back again if you ask. So.
That's it for this episode. This episode, as well as this podcast, was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help business owners elevate their business to 6, 7, and 8-figure years, all without burning out. If you're looking to grow your business, as well as get the time freedom that you are looking for, visit us at joinpurplecircle.com and see what we can do to help you and your business.